All right, welcome to BarnBridge project called 003. We wanted to start off and just make a quick announcement to the community and say, now that the community has grown substantially in the last couple of weeks, we really would like to open up these calls to have more questions from the community. So this is a call to the community to join the GitHub, put your questions on there. These calls will become much more of a kind of a Q&A for the community to get their answers to the questions they have and have direct access to us for the big questions and everything like that. And then possibly the idea in the future is that community members will be able to join the call. But right now it's just heads down development type stuff that we're working through. So time is an issue. With that, I think what we'll do is we'll jump into the agenda of the day. The first thing is the tech and development. There has been some updates to the app. I think Bogdan, did you want to do the update on that?
Dragish, I think he has everything prepared for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. Well, as requested by the community, there are like two things: mobile responsiveness, and then the other thing was dark mode. So I have something to share. Let me get this screen sharing right now. So right here, we basically see the BarnBridge app. This is Arinkabee here. It's like basically what we've been seeing so far. However, if we go in this corner and if we expand this little button right here, we click this thing and boom, dark mode is active. So yeah, now you can watch the page without,
Wait, sorry, where was that button? I didn't see that. Oh,
right here,
okay.
expand the menu, dark theme, it's up there. And it's basically works the same way that I did before. So that's one thing. And the other thing right now, if I go, if I'm basically on a mobile device and I want to check this out, let me get this here. Do like a little iPhone X thingy. And yep. Now the experience adapts on mobile as well. So you can basically check it out everywhere. And dark mode, light mode, that's also available. And there's like one tiny mistake here because I'm using a Chrome, so I have this connected. So let me, yep. I mean, you'll be able to see what's in the pool, what's the value locked, but not be able to stake because there's no wallet connect on mobile. And yeah, that's the thing. We have this ready to go. So why not just release it right now to the public?
It's cool with me.
Oh, sorry about this. This button here. All right. Ooh. And this is building right now. So like pretty soon it's going to be live on app.barnbridge.com. And yeah, that's all. Congrats to Slava for pushing this very fast. And Bogdan and everyone, of course. So. Yeah, great stuff.
Awesome. Great work, everybody. The next thing on the agenda is the BarnBridge DAO. Who wanted to take that away? Bogdan, did you want to do that? I'm going to just keep throwing stuff at you until you.
Yeah, you're going to keep putting me on the spot until I get something out.
Exactly.
Okay. Fine by me. Yeah, so for the BarnBridge DAO, we just spent the last couple of days finishing the specs for that, and we just started building out the first module. I won't give any more details for that because we want to settle on everything first, because more than just one thing is still in flux, so better not to share stuff. But we've started building the must-haves. The other things are just nice to have and things we might tweak later, but it's going to be awesome.
Cool. So that's exciting. We'll get getting that out. And then the last thing that we want to talk about on the tech development side is the first product, the smart yield bonds. So I don't, Milad, do you want to give a quick update on that? Because I know there's some things around there that you can kind of shed light on.
Right now there are two main proposals that we have internally of how to build it, and we're just building one of them right now to be able to at least test, to have a test suite ready, and after that we can play around with the second proposal as well. So it's still in development, but there are two main ways of doing it. Yes, we'll settle on one of them in the next week, so it's not going to be, we'll just kill one of the proposals. So
are you thinking of testing the other proposal too, or are you leaning more?
Yeah. Modeling it at least. And we talked to the advisors at PAR. They're going to start modeling something that they can think of, and we will consider that too, whatever their input is next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's about it.
Cool. Okay, well, there's the update. What we want to do kind of at the end now is go through, well, actually, I think it'd be really helpful, Tyler, if you wanted to kind of delicately explain the IL situation.
Yeah.
I know you've been thinking about it a lot.
So I'm going to release an article to the community. I don't want to sound like standoffish, but I really don't want to talk about it. Like basically any conversations that the team has about price or where it could go, or us like talking about it as a group, just gets into sketchy regulatory issues. So like just understand with the community, like we can't really talk about the price. We can't participate in futures if people set them up. So like I'm writing an article just to give some general warnings about like impermanent loss, float, how market cap versus fully diluted market cap works. And the reason is because there's a lot of people that like in the community that I saw that were saying like BarnBridge is a safe pool, like a safe way to learn yield farming. And that's relatively true for like the very first pool and like the first distribution, because we did a stable farm. We really like rolled it out early to the community. We released the code weeks early. So when people were saying that is true, but they didn't like add on to the fact that there's other things that come after yield farming that can that aren't necessarily safe for people when they're playing around with digital assets. So it's probably like the extent of what I can say. And I'm just going to release like a general article to try to just provide some like educational pointers to people that really are like learning crypto or DeFi through BarnBridge for the first time. Because given the size of that pool, right, like there's some people, this is their first time. There's some people that have nefarious intentions. And I just think the community needs to be aware of that.
Yeah, 100%. Very important for everyone to understand that, because we have had a huge success with the first pool. So I know everyone's very happy about that, but there is things that the community really does need to understand. So that's good. The other thing, I guess we have some comments and questions from the community. And I think we'll just kind of throw them out into the here and we can answer them. So the first one is, will we be using Snapshot for DAO governance? Kind
of. So the way we're thinking right now is that you would have to, I don't want to get into this, but you would have to lock your tokens to be able to vote on stuff. And when a proposal is created, we take a snapshot of that moment, and anyone in that moment can vote with their tokens. So yeah, kind of.
Right. Yeah, that gets into the detailed specs of how it all works. So the guy who asked this is really busy in the community. So, and he's really busy in the governance channel because it's coming up. So,
I think we can release some more info soon when
yeah,
we have it.
Yeah,
Like
just
in a
based
good-
on
good
this
place.
the spec
Yeah.
document I was looking at yesterday, it seems like we're pretty close to
Yeah.
having a good idea, at least from the bare bones basics, like the beginning one.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into too much of it right now. So the next question that he had is, he has three. How do you preempt the issues YFI is facing now with its hard cap? I don't actually know what the problems are that YFI is having with their hard cap. Actually, Keegan or EJ, do you guys know? Are you aware of that? What's going on with that? I know you guys are more involved over there.
I mean, essentially, they have their YGov mechanism where you're supposed to be staking Wi-Fi and voting on YIPs in order to claim your staking rewards. I think essentially, and I'm not sure from like why their specific circulating supply is an issue at this point, but I think just the low cap in general is, maybe there's some perception issues in the space.
Okay, that would make sense. Yeah,
I was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he did. There is a link in the comment section of a suggestion from someone in the Wi-Fi community on how to fix that. So maybe we can go and look at that some other time. And the third thing he wanted to know was, would it be possible to incentivize other sources of liquidity? Would be fascinating to see if we could liquidity mine a bond futures market on Polymarket. Tyler, you kind of addressed that already.
But I can add to that because I just answered it to, I answered it in Discord. Also for YFI, I think the way that YFI rolled out, when we originally built our like governance model, like YFI was like they just distributed their tokens, right? Like they distributed all of their tokens pretty quickly, right? Like, so there's 30,000, I understand what the issue is with YFI. There's 30,000 YFI tokens. And I think where people talk about like bond yield farming, like there's a whole bunch of money in the pool, but obviously like that's stacked towards like there's very large whales, right, that can get a portion of like the platform. Well, YFI distributed like all 30,000 tokens way faster than like we are. Like we're distributing our tokens over like a period of time essentially. And so the problem now is like there's people in the community that were like developers or like the people that originally worked on the project. Like, I don't know if anybody really thought that it was going to go to like $500 million in like a 3-month period. So people like sold their YFI, like even like believers in the project and like developers on the project. And like Andre didn't even really take any of the tokens, right? So like, what ended up happening was there's a lot of developers that just feel like there's a bunch of investors like telling them how to code, and like that's how the protocol is being run right now. And I think that's like a fair assessment, but like what you really need to think about YFI, like from the community perspective, is like there's probably going to be stuff that is built on top of YFI, and like those are going to need new developers. Like that there's like Ethereum, for instance, like the people building on top of Ethereum and like building businesses on top of Ethereum are a lot of the ones that are pushing the code forward. Like there were ICOs that work with the Ethereum Foundation. So I think that like YFI is just going through a crux right now, and I would say it's like a feature, not a bug. Like eventually those investors are going to sell, it will get more distributed. There's a lot of things about our distribution that's different from Wi-Fi because we learned from it. Like I was very clear that our distribution mechanism was going to award like seed investors that were going to stay with us for the long term, like the team, right? Like I didn't want this to be like a Victoria's Secret CEO scenario that he sold his company for $10 million and it sold for $3 billion and he drives his car off a cliff. So like I always thought that was going to be an issue for Wi-Fi, that the incentives weren't aligned, but like they designed it that way, right? Like so we have way more bond tokens. There's going to be a far larger like circulating supply. We're distributing them over a longer period of time. Will we eventually hit that same hard cap issue that they did? We'll see, right? Like, because we hopefully will have people building things on top of BarnBridge and committing code and like the Ethereum ecosystem, like helping to push all of that forward. But like, we don't have any way to answer that question. Like, will there be issues in the way that we set up our tokenomics in the future? Like, most likely, yes. Like, we're not like Nostradamus. We couldn't have gotten everything right. But will we have a lot of the same problems that Wi-Fi is having? No, because we learned, like, we got lucky that they went first and we learned from some of their mistakes. So like, it's a tough question to answer. Like, I mean, that's like, you know, do I have a crystal ball? Do I know who's going to win the World Series? Like, I don't know. We don't, right? And that also, like, speaking of crystal balls, like people are asking for us to like integrate like futures or try to like set up a polymath market for futures and also like set up a predictions market on where the price is going to be. I personally thought that that was a super fun idea, and it was like something that like just me being someone who likes to bet, I would have like loved to see. But we can't be a part of that. Like because like our team has the ability to manipulate that price. Like I could start tweeting bad things about bond and affect the price. So like and like it seemed like a fun idea like when, you know, very early on, but we're not going to support that. Like if y'all do that, I'm going to say I don't support the movement. But if the community can do whatever they want, we shouldn't be involved in any type of futures or predictions market on something that we can control. We really just shouldn't talk about price at all.
100% agreed on that. I think everyone on this call would agree. Keegan, did you want to say something?
I was just to add in that I think you nailed it, Tyler. That it's an incentive alignment issue on the Wi-Fi side. Like you said, all the tokens are already distributed. For devs that are actually building in that ecosystem, they, you know, having the actual native token, they have powerful value accrual mechanisms for their treasury, but it doesn't necessarily accrue the Wi-Fi token. So they have an incentive alignment issue with that token that we won't necessarily have, giving kind of that we've preserved more of the actual bond tokens in our treasury, 10%, 1 million to be exact. And then we have kind of vesting schedules for everybody else. So I think you nailed it, Tyler.
Okay, cool. So then we also have another comment from one other person, kind of an anonymous one. So what they say is liquidity should not depend on uni, which is 50-50 ratio, which would kill the LP. So if not balancer, I think there is a bone/USDC pool, which has 298 or 199 ratio rather than 50-50. So this is just a kind of a comment on the ratio, how we're going about this. I don't know. Has anyone looked into doing a balancer pool, like for, and then
Well,
maybe putting a proposition?
We talked about it on that call. I mean, because you could, like, if the Uniswap pool is very risky, you could basically incentivize that the weighting, right? Like it costs X to buy 4. I think like I understand why the community would want that. And I think in hindsight, if we knew there was going to be $200 million in the pool with 32,000 bond tokens in the first epoch being distributed, like had we known then, would we have done it differently? I really don't know the answer to that question, because I think over the next 3 months, things will normalize, but I don't think that it would be ethical for us to change that right now, because we explained to the community what they were doing when they put $200 million into that smart contract. So if we start changing the mechanism to try to do what the community is asking us to do, if you read between the lines, like I think that's getting into some very, very ethical dark water. And like we said how we were going to distribute it, and I think that's the way that we should distribute it. I don't think we should change the pools and change the cuts and change the structures for any reason. People did their research, they went into the pool. What happens after here is based on what they decided to do, and us making any changes right now might change some of their expected why they did that, right? And so the blowback from the community, I think, will be much greater if they start to get the vibe that we're gonna start changing things to prevent other things that can create other problems in and of themselves.
Yeah.
What they're asking about is the same reason that I'm writing this article, and I think the answer is we don't change anything.
It would be easier if we had the DAO already up, because then you could just punt it to the community and be like, you guys want to set up a pool? But by us unilaterally making a decision with it, it really kind of puts us in a position I don't feel comfortable with, and I don't think anyone should really feel comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, you nailed it, Troy. Eventually, the community can make these decisions, right? Like right now, I think we said what we were going to do, and we need to do what we said. We're going to stick to our word of what we said, right? We're going to do what we said we were going to do. In the future, if the community wants to change these things because things change, like that's why we think DAO governance is a superior mechanism to the one that we have right now. It's centralized right now. We're decentralizing it. That's what we're doing, right? So I think that's where we leave it. Like we're gonna do what we said we were gonna do.
Yeah, I think the main point that we're trying to communicate to the community is that this was the predetermined mechanism to distribute the token. Impermanent loss is a very real factor that you need to make a personal decision, do your own research on. There's some sort of misconceptions around impermanent loss. It's not, if there's 50% price volatility, 50% change in the bond price, you're not losing 50% of your bond. It's, a 2x difference in the bond price would result in about 6% impermanent loss. A 5x difference in the bond price would result in about 25% impermanent loss. And we have kind of incentives built in. We have 100 weeks of 20,000 bond tokens being distributed to liquidity providers in that Uniswap pool to incentivize them to take that risk, to offset the risk. So it's completely a decision on your end as a liquidity provider and as a DeFi kind of yield farmer. If that risk is worth it to you, you can watch and learn. This is just a calculated risk return situation that everybody needs to take for themselves. So with that said, educate yourself on impermanent loss, understand the risks, understand the rewards, and do what is best for you. Don't risk more than you are ever willing to lose.
Yep.
Yeah, well said.
Well said, Keegan.
Well said. Cool. I actually think we should, unless there's anything else people want to talk about, I'd like to leave it on that. I think that was a pretty good sum up of what needs to be understood. Anybody? Okay. Well, with that, we will conclude project call 003. See you all on the Discord.
Okay. Wait. Yeah, the one free. See ya.